Hey there, wonderful people! Today I'm going to list my top 5 miracles in Dark Souls 2. And with miracles I mean faith spells. That means you need to level up your faith to use them effectively. I already have done the top 5 Pyromancies and top 5 sorceries in Dark Souls 2, so please check in the description to watch these 2 videos. So let's proceed. Number 5. All faith and miracle buffs. It is well established that in the faith category and miracles have the best buffs in the game, and the 3 that I'm just gonna list is an example. So I usually put offensive miracles, but this one is different. Number 4. Sunlight Spear. Sunlight Spear can be found in Harvest Valley by joining the Sunbro Covenant, and it requires 55 faith to use. This spell is definitely the best long range spell for faith spells, so it is the best ranged option you have. Although you have few casts, but each cast is very strong in both PvP and PvE, and it can be utilized differently in each category. So in PvE it's very easy to hit people, to hit enemies with this spell. However, using this spell in PvP can be very tricky. You should use multiple spells to confuse your opponent and then use this spell. It should be used at the right time, when usually your opponent is healing or doing a spell or doing any action that has a recovery time, since this spell is one of the easiest spells that you can dodge in the game. So use it wisely because you have few casts. But if you hit your opponent, they will feel the pain. They will feel it. It's one of the best spells for long range. It used to be the second strongest, and now I don't think that's the case. I think it's the third strongest. Anyways, we're done with this spell. Let's go to the next one. Number 3. Blinding Bolt. Blinding Bolt can be acquired by killing the Old Iron King in NG Plus and then trading it with Strait of Olafis in Lost Bastille. This requires 65 faith, which is the highest spell requirements you need for miracles. So usually people go to the NPC in Iron Keep in the beginning to lower the requirement. I also do that because it's very high in any way. Like, it's very high. 65 is high requirement, so you have to sacrifice a bit. But this spell is just so good, and I personally hate it. I hate when I play against it, especially in enclosed spaces and like not in the arena. Like when you're usually in PvE, it's just so hard to evade, and shield is almost a must. And if it does a lot of damage, like, do you see every bolt almost does 500 damage. This spell, when it was released, when the game was released, was very bad. Then they buffed it, nerfed it, buffed it, and it became a very strong spell, and it is essential if you want to go for pure miracles or pure faith build, because this is one of the spells that you first initiate to use other spells in this class of faith spells. So Blinding Bolt, one of the best spells in the game, definitely. It's annoying, that's for sure. I'm just stating the top 5. So top 5, it has to be a good spell, and this spell is a force to be reckoned with, definitely. Most people, when they see it, they panic, and that's the chance to use another spell on them. Having a shield with high lightning resistance is very important if you're dealing with someone with this spell. Anyways, we're done with this spell. Let's move to the next one. Number 2. Heavenly Thunder. This spell was one of the best spells since release. Since the game released, it's just one of the best spells, and it requires only 17 faith, which is awesome, guys. That means almost any build can have this spell, but of course using it as an optimized faith build is the way to go. This spell shines in many ways. First way is in enclosed spaces, since it's very hard to dodge out in enclosed spaces, and it hits like a truck. literally, especially if you're heavily invested in faith. Also, another circumstance where this spell shines is after you backstab or guard break or parry any opponent. After they get up from their invulnerable state, you use this spell and they have two choices. They either attack you and take the enormous chance of dying, or roll away and still have a chance of dying, but the percentage will decrease if they try to roll out, or they'll have a heavy shield, or sorry, high lightning resistant shield, and they just block their way, which is actually rare, you know, especially if you're invading. So this spell is just good all around, but it's very random. The lightning projectiles are random. There's no like fixed, like you can't like aim it or anything. It just goes around you and there's a chance that it will hit. So in this case you can hit more than once. Imagine. And sometimes people just die out flat. But as I said, use this spell in the right circumstance, and when you mix it with other spells, they never know what you're gonna use. So that's the trick, using more than a spell to trick them to know. Sometimes they think it's a blinding bolt and they just roll towards you. Or you can use another spell and then one-shot them, which is the #1 spell. Anyways, we're done with this spell. Let's go to the next one. So I'm gonna share a few tips when using a faith build. Before we go to our #1. The first one, if you encounter someone using miracles, use your Watcher shield, which if you infuse it with lightning has 100% lightning resistance. That means you take no damage when you block, which is very, very good. Second thing, if you're fighting someone using disarmor or with great magic barrier, they take minimal damage. So you have to consider that when you see your opponent using disarmor, and especially the spell. Third thing, lightning clutch ring, which you get from the first DLC. That 35 damage boost for lightning will increase the damage way more than you think. It makes Medicure spells to super strong spells. That 35 damage boost is way more than you think. So use that ring. And lastly, the best chime for lightning is the dragon chime, which you get from the NPC in the wheelchair. Wiki that to find out. Let's go to #1. #1, Wrath of the Gods. Wrath of the Gods, like the name just says it all. So this spell is a recurring spell since Demon Souls. From Software is dedicated to bring this spell back every freaking time, and for a good reason. This one is a bit different from the other two. Each one actually is unique in a way. This spell was the strongest spell in the game. It was nerfed countless times. And it's still one of the strongest spells, guys. This is still one of the strongest spells. It's one of the only few spells that I know that can one-shot people. And has a radius or area of effect. So you don't need to aim it. You just need the opponent come close to you. Now, after the nerfs, I used this spell and I felt the nerf. But when I used the lightning clutch ring, which I was talking about before in the tips section, it just brought back that beast. Guys, it just one-shots most people. As you can see, this spell is best used after criticals, like guard break, parry, or backstab. And the best way is when you have multiple opponents and they're pushing in on you, just run away, hide behind the ledge, and just use the spell and they will die. That easy peasy. It's the best spell against gankers, definitely. This is the gang spank spell, you can call it. So use it wisely at the right time. It's definitely a cool spell, and with lightning clutch ring is just unstoppable. So yeah, use it wisely. And another tip that I forgot to tell you is, if lightning damage increases when your opponent is covered in water. So yeah, I wanted to add this tip. Anyways guys, this is the end of this video. I hope you learned something new, and try out these spells and build and tell me what you think. And if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you on my next video. And one of my next videos is gonna be top 5 hex builds, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.